que me gusta lo mejor. Pa' mujeres no me falta ni el dinero ni el amor. That's our anthem for this morning. I'm a bit disappointed. I'm a bit sad to see Charles Oliveira do this, but at the same time, it's kind of bittersweet because you get to see a star rise to this level. And as much as people have always kind of, it's been their instinct to hate on someone who talks a lot of shit. You know, when you're rising through the ranks and you're predicting first round KOs against Alexander Volkanovski or Max Holloway or Charles Oliveira, and you're saying you're gonna do these things to these legends that have proven their grounds in the UFC and proven through their performances and earned our respect. It's like our instinct as UFC fans to be like, no, you're not going to do this. Who do you think you are? You haven't earned this. You can't speak like this. You know what I mean? It's kind of our instinct to say these things. But at the same time, it's like the only way that as a fighter you can build your own confidence is by saying you're going to do these things, by trusting yourself, by having belief in your abilities. And Ilia Topuria is a living proof of that. Since the beginning, he said exactly what he was going to do, and he just went out there and did it. I think this performance last night is probably one of the closest thing we're going to see to the Conor McGregor rise. Almost like too close, almost too similar in terms of who they are as a personality, their performances, you know, who they beat. I remember Conor, it was Chad Mendes, which is not the equivalent to an Alexander Volkanovski, but a tough contender still. That was a great performance. Then Aldo, who was, you know, the long reigning undefeated featherweight king for so long. He beat him with a 13-second KO, and then he went on to absolutely outclass Eddie Alvarez. Then on the other side, you have Ilia Topuria, who beat Alexander Volkanovski, who was the long reigning champion, but you know, the little asterisk is he was coming off a KO loss to Islam Makhachev, so it might have been a lesser version of Alexander Volkanovski because he was coming off that KO loss and because it was a little bit of a short notice. But that's why you can kind of compare these two. Then he went on to beat Max Holloway, who was also, you know, coming off of a crazy KO win over Justin Gaethje, who had a lot of momentum. So, and obviously Max Holloway is one of the greatest featherweights of all time as well. And then now beating Charles Oliveira, the way that he did is like, I mean, you can compare to both. I think in terms of wins, in terms of the purity of the wins, those three names, Volkanovski, Holloway, and Charles Oliveira, are just one of the greatest back-to-back run in UFC history by far. Like having these three KO wins, you know, these three names as KOs on your resume is probably, like I said, one of the greatest resume run ever. But maybe in terms of performances, Conor McGregor did a bit better, outclassing, you know, Eddie Alvarez the way that he did. That was an insane performance, a 13-second KO over Aldo. And then the Chad Mendes fight was a bit more competitive, but I mean, it's debatable. It's just the way that they're doing it, going from the featherweight division to the lightweight division, the whole double champ thing, both kind of like similar styles as well. Strikers, obviously different kind of strikers, but I mean, yeah, it just seems extremely similar. It's funny because I know you guys probably don't watch much tennis, but I'm a big tennis fan, all right, for some reason. But Carlos Alcaraz is a big star right now in the tennis world, and he won Roland Garros title, which is a Grand Slam title in tennis in the ATP world. He won it the exact same day that Rafael Nadal won one of his first few Roland Garros as well, at a specific age, a specific time, a specific date. It was wild to see. It was like as if it was a parallel story that they were building, both Spanish and like, anyways, it was kind of a crazy stat to see that. Obviously, the Roland Garros is played every year at a specific time as well during the year, so the coincidence isn't as extreme, but it was the fact that they were the same age to the day of. Like, I think Carlos is 23 or 22 in a few days, and Nadal won his fourth Roland Garros, I think, that specific day as well. The coincidence was crazy. This reminds me of this as well with Ilia Topuria and Conor McGregor. Just their rises. They're both the same age. Probably not the day of, but like, you know, the way they're going about the rise of their career is absolutely incredible. And I called it. I can't say I didn't call it because I absolutely did. I remember doing the Volkanovski versus Topuria prediction video, and I said this word for word. This guy is next up. He's next in line.
I'm picking Ilia Topuria by KO. It just looks like it's his time.
And then I called it word for word in this prediction as well, UFC 317.
But against a guy like Charles Oliveira, who does get hit, who doesn't move his head much, who does get knocked down often, you're telling me Topuria is going to touch your chin and you're going to have to get up and try again?
It's really, really bittersweet to see this performance because you kind of wanted a good ending for both. And Charles Oliveira like had probably the worst ending. I was like, all right, let Ilia Topuria win, but at least give him some adversity. You know what I mean? Tell him that he's wrong on one of his predictions. He had to say first round KO. He literally said exactly word for word what's going to happen. I saw an interview before the fight, and he was saying, usually when it takes time for me to find the knockout, it's because I have to chase these guys. Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski, they were running on the outside and I have to chase for the knockout. Whereas Charles Oliveira is the type of guy who comes in crashing, who walks forward, you know, who's in the pocket with you and brawls. And that's literally what happened. Charles Oliveira from the first round just walked forward, put his guard up, no head movement, just pop, pop, getting popped in the face. I think he was bleeding 10 seconds into the fight. Yeah, just a horrible matchup for Charles Oliveira. Horrible matchup for Charles Oliveira. And yeah, I guess this is my thoughts on UFC 317. It's going to be fun to see whether they decide to book that Paddy fight because it is a weird matchup. Paddy's number 8 in the world. There's, you know, Arman there. Whatever they want to do with maybe Islam. I don't think Justin Gaethje deserves it, but there's a few guys before Paddy who I mean, they could call their shot if they want to, and they have a better I guess resume to back up that talk, you know what I mean? So it was fun to see, and it was interesting to see Paddy coming in and getting that like face off and stuff like that, but Dana White didn't seem too happy about it, so I don't know if they're actually going to make that fight. I think the reasonable fight to make right now is Justin Gaethje versus Paddy, and I think Paddy has a chance to win against Gaethje. So, yeah, it's a favorable matchup for Paddy as well. A guy who's, you know, doesn't want to grapple too much, who's mostly just powerful but not crisp with his technique. Like Topuria is. I think Topuria might have a chance to win against Gaethje. So they should do that fight and book Tsarukyan and Topuria. I think Arman Tsarukyan versus Ilia Topuria is an incredibly stylistic, fun matchup. Yeah, two young guys, well-rounded. Tsarukyan is very underrated right now. I know, like, he missed weight or he had a back injury, whatever happened at UFC 311 where he missed out the day of, which is annoying, but, like, shit happens sometimes as a fighter. It's funny how sometimes, you know, the UFC kind of, like, make excuses for certain fighters and not for others, like, depending on who it is. When John Jones decided to pull out of Stipe Miocic, Dana White went on a press tour saying, he's injured. It's fine. He's still the number 1 pound for pound. Like, he's still that guy. He walks out of every room, right? After him pulling out a few weeks before. Obviously, it wasn't the day of, but when Arman does it, it's like he's the back of the line and we hate him. And kind of, I saw him say at the press conference that he missed weight when Arman said it was a back injury. So we don't know the whole story, but still, it's weird how the UFC kind of like changes the narrative based on who it is. But yeah, I think the best fight, regardless of what happened in the past, is Arman Tsarukyan versus Ilia Topuria. In the meantime, they can make JDM versus Islam, and if Islam end up winning that fight, they can make a champ status for Ilia if he wins against Arman. I think stylistically is the best matchup. They can also make Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett. The winner of that gets the title. I think those are the easiest matchmaking you can do at lightweight and welterweight right now, and they decided to do that. So they decided to obviously let Makhachev go up at 170. I think it would have been great that he stayed and defended against Ilia, but you know, on the same time, I also understand the narrative of Islam where he's like, I've been fighting nothing but featherweights during my run, you know, nothing but featherweights and short notice guy. It's like people are gonna talk shit about it, and that's just the truth. You know what I mean? If Islam loses his next fight, everybody's gonna say, "Oh, all he did at lightweight was fight, you know, featherweights and short notice guys and retired Dustin Poirier." You know what I mean? It's like that's what's gonna happen. And if Ilia Topuria didn't prove things the way that he proved now, they would have said the same thing. Now that he has a name, now if Islam fights Topuria, there's something there. So we're gonna see what Islam say now that Topuria has proven his worth at lightweight. And yeah, I think that's going to be a very, very interesting matchup. So there's a lot of fun matchups at lightweights, at welterweight between all these guys. And let me know what your thoughts are down below. I've been yapping for a long time now, so I'm going to head out. Peace out, boys.